Okay, chapter 5 was when we started talking about imaginary numbers, and so just operations with imaginary numbers here. This is just subtracting, so I'm subtracting everything, and I got this. This one's multiplication, right? There's nothing in between it, so you have to FOIL it out. Remember that I squared equals -1, so I got this answer. And then solving equations with imaginary solutions. Remember that when you take the square root of both sides of an equation, that you get plus or minus, and the square root of a negative number is always going to have that imaginary component. So the answer to this is x equals plus or minus 2i. Chapter 5 is when we also talked about quadratic formula and completing the square. That would be a great thing to write down on your paper, maybe. So this one's asked for the discriminant. The discriminant is just what's underneath the square root, the b squared minus 4ac. I got -32. Because it's a negative number, that means we're going to have two complex answers. So then I just plugged it into the quadratic formula, simplifying my square root. So this simplifies the square root of 16, -16 squared root of 2, which is 4i squared root of 2. And then since everything's divisible by 2, not the square root, I can't divide into that, then I can simplify it to here. Story problems, I know that those can be tricky, but this one, they give you the height, and they ask you, when does it hit the ground? And this is where it makes sense to give me a decimal. And so again, step 1 is knowing that finding when does it hit the ground means when does the height equal 0, which means I'm finding the zeros. So I do the quadratic formula, and I get 2 answers, but it can't be a negative time. You want to practice doing this on your calculator. Whoa. And so 2.619 seconds should be the right answer. I don't know why that yellow box keeps going up there. Vertex form. The vertex, right, that would be a good thing to write down. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, where the vertex is h and k. So in this one, the vertex is 1, 5. Because this is negative, it opens down. And it's stretched by a factor of 3. So I can go over 1, down 3 to get my next point, or you can make an XY chart. 62 is put it in vertex form. And I did this by completing the square because I did this a while ago. I probably would do negative b over 2a now. You still get the same answer. Your vertex is -6, -83. Obviously, I'm not going to make you graph something like this on the test with such a crazy vertex, but knowing how to get the vertex and graph it if required is what I want you to do. 64 is a quadratic inequality. And so the first step is to graph it or to find the solutions. And then see where you're shading. And so finding the vertex, finding the zeros, making your graph, and then figuring out whether you're shading inside or outside. 69, if I don't want to graph that, remember I can just find the zeros and then check the number line of like, am I graphing in the middle or am I graphing on the outside to check those. And so on this one, 0 did work. And so that's why I'm graphing on the outside. It's an or. Number 70 is another story problem about the height. Only this one, it asks, when will it reach 130 feet? And so instead of setting it equal to 0, I set it equal to 130, and then I had to subtract that over to get this equation. And then I did the quadratic formula, and notice I got 2 answers. Why did I get 2 answers? Because it hit 130 feet on the way up, and then on the way down, it hit 130 feet again. And so you can get 2 answers, but you can't have a negative time, okay? Part B says, will it ever reach 250 feet? Well, that's asking, is the maximum is the vertex, ever going to be 250? And so on that one, I found the vertex, which again, I completed the square, but you could do negative b over 2a and plug it back in, and you should get the y part of your vertex is 202. So it won't. The highest it ever will get is 202 feet. And so it won't hit 250 feet. And then part C says, when will it hit the ground? When will it hit the ground means when does it have a height of 0? Quadratic formula, use my calculator. I got a negative time again, so that can't be right. So I only keep the positive one, which is 7 seconds.